Excellent. Okay. So this is Mary, CEO of Recommenda, joined by Less Annoying CRM CEO and co-founder Tyler King. Tyler, thank you so much for joining me today for this interview. I'm thrilled to have you, thrilled to learn more about you and Less Annoying CRM. And yeah, just thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to our chat.
Yeah. So can we start off by, telling me a little bit about your journey that led to co-founding the company with your brother, and like what was that initial spark for creating this CRM solution?
Yeah, obviously nobody grows up as a kid dreaming of starting a CRM company. But basically I kind of stumbled into it, as is the case with a lot of kind of startup stories. I was working at a different startup as a programmer, and there were kind of two different experiences there. One, they asked me to set up Salesforce, which is kind of the main behemoth in the CRM industry. And despite being pretty tech savvy, I failed. So that was one little bit of
I also
insight.
failed at a Salesforce implementation 10 years ago, so right there with
Yeah,
you.
great. Yeah, it's a great tool for giant companies. It's just not right
Yes.
for us, right?
Yeah.
And then the second thing is I won't go into all the details unless you want me to, but we kind of had this reseller program, and I built a tool for our resellers at this other company that looked a lot like a CRM. And they all ended up saying, well, we don't actually want to resell your product, but can we keep using this tool to manage our leads? And
Mhm.
it was like, oh, okay, that's basically a CRM. So those two experiences, I went to my boss at that company. I said, can we just start selling this? And they said, no, that's not what we do here. So I quit, and my brother and I started Less Annoying CRM.
Amazing. That is such a great experience, and just I love the motivation to,
Yeah.
create something. What what really sets apart Less Annoying CRM from other players in the market, and what is that kind of unique value proposition you guys bring?
Yeah. So we kind of say we've got three main differentiators, and I'll be upfront, they're all boring. Um, One is price, not just to have a lower price, but to have a simpler price. A lot of these CRMs, you go to their pricing page and you're like, I don't even know what this is going to cost. Like, there's an annual contract, and it's different if it's monthly. And what do I have to pay for this add-on if I want this feature or that feature? So we just said one price for everybody. That's it, $15 per user per month. Simple. The second thing is customer service. Our company is about half customer service people, and we pay them well, and the average tenure is over 5 years for someone who's on that team. So just really good customer service. And then the final thing is simplicity of the product. And I know that everyone says they have a simple product, but what do I really mean by that? Most simple, quote unquote, simple CRMs are a stripped down version of an enterprise CRM, right? The way the company really makes money is they sell to big businesses, but then they kind of have this, oh, you don't get all the features and it's cheaper, but it's still the same complicated underlying product. We only sell to small businesses. Our average customer has about 2 to 2.5 users. So we don't have those more complicated things and we're hiding them. We really only have the basics for kind of overall low tech people, or just people who don't want to they don't want to become a professional CRM user. They just want to set something up quick and easy and get on with the rest of their life.
Right. But I love that you guys also have the customization ability, so that, it's not that if you need extra fields and things like that, you can't have them. They're there. And,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean that customization isn't possible. It's very much possible in your product, which I really like.
Yeah, I used to think that, like, when we started, I thought that simple and basic were the same thing. And actually, just through talking to customers and realizing how wrong I was, over time, I've kind of learned, yeah, if the tool doesn't solve your problem, it's not simple. If you have to go to 20 other tools to do the basic things you need, that's not simple. It just means our product's easy, but easy and simple are two different things. So simple sometimes means having a few extra features, having a bit of customization, so it can actually solve the problem it needs to solve.
Absolutely. The CRM industry is evolving so much. And what do you see the vision? What is your vision for the future of CRM, and how Less Annoying CRM will fit into that?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, especially in the world of AI, I think every tech company is thinking right now, like, what's going to happen? And, one version is AI replaces everything and we're all out of a job. So I hope it's not that. But yeah, the way I see the CRM industry going is there seem to be kind of two directions. There's the general purpose CRM, like Salesforce, HubSpot, and so on, that kind of is meant to work with anybody, great at the fundamental CRM stuff like pipelines, leads, email campaigns, whatever, but not necessarily niched down to specific industries. And then there's the other side, which is industry specific CRM. So a travel agent CRM, an insurance CRM, and so on. And they generally have all those industry specific features they need, but they're worse at the core CRM functionality. That's where we are right now, I think. Where I see things going is that the general purpose CRMs, which I consider us one of, are we going to eat the industry specific ones faster than the industry specific ones build out that really great core functionality? And at that point, you never use a generic one. You always use an industry specific one. So I don't know where it's going to go, but that's definitely one of the directions we're thinking is how can we not just be the basic CRM, but how can we obviously we're not building travel agent specific features and insurance agent specific features. We have customers in 100 different industries, but how can we add that customization and add that flexibility so that it feels more like after we get it customized for each individual customer, it feels like it was designed for them.
Right. Okay. I love that. Yeah. That feeling of like, this is custom to me. That's really cool. I would like to kind of turn a little bit to, Less Annoying CRM as a company, you guys as a leadership team. What kind of, I've learned a little bit about your company culture and I love it. I think, I think I heard from Emma that, your employees after so long get like a sabbatical and things like that, which I think is just incredible and amazing. So like, can you tell me a little bit about the culture that you guys have worked to build and, how does it align with, your mission and values and all of that?
Yeah, I love talking about this. I think everything reverse engineers back to one thing, which is we've never raised money for investors. That results in us being smaller, less profitable. I'm probably not as rich as I might otherwise be, but almost every tech company is running the same playbook, which is you raise a bunch of money from venture capital, you have to get as big as you possibly can, and the way you get really big is you build a sales team, you quote unquote move up market, which means adding more complicated features, selling to enterprises. Everything kind of ultimately comes down to did you raise money or not? Because we didn't, we have a lot more options that those other companies don't, and that includes with kind of the company culture stuff. So for example, our customer service team is too big and we pay them too much from like a shareholder standpoint. If we had investors, they'd be like, stop it. But that's just one of the core values we have is we're building a product for like low tech people for the most part. Customer service is absolutely crucial. We've got to do that. And then I think a really foundational thing for me is the idea of leaders eat last. I think it's so common at a lot of companies that there's rules for everybody except leadership, and they have a different set of rules. So, for example, the sabbatical thing you mentioned, I could just go take a sabbatical without letting anyone else take a sabbatical, and that'd be fine for me. But I think if you just, as a CEO, you say, I'm going to follow the exact same rules everybody else has. I want a sabbatical. I took one 2 years ago. I'm about to take parental leave for 3 months next year. I want those benefits. I can only get them if I offer them to everybody else. And I think that's created a really nice workplace for us.
I love that, Tyler. It really speaks to my heart with Recommenda as well as with my agency. We have unlimited PTO and I know some companies say that and it's like you can't take it. And I'm like, no, my vision has always been I wanted to create something where the employees have as much flexibility as I do. So you don't have to tell me where you are. You don't have to tell me what hours you're working. It's like if you are getting your work done, I want you to be the happiest person outside of work because that's going to make you so much happier. That's just, it radiates into the work you bring to the company.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, I love that philosophy so much. One of the things that I was reading about you guys is the Less Annoying CRM Coding Fellowship. And I loved that. And I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that and the idea behind it.
Yeah. So what it is it's basically, it's like an internship. It's over the summer. It doesn't have to be college students, but those tend to be the people who kind of are working summer jobs. But unlike an internship, they don't work for us. It's kind of for someone, it's a pre-internship for someone who wants to get into tech but doesn't necessarily have the skills yet. So for example, a freshman in college studying computer science, they kind of know how to code, but they're not at a position where they could get an internship yet. And we just kind of try to create that bridge from you've gotten started to now you can actually get a job. So they come in, we train them, we kind of give them projects, help them kind of develop those skills, get something on their resume. The impetus for it was basically so the Less Annoying CRM, we started it about 15 years ago now. And from the beginning, my brother and I, he's the other co-founder, we were like, we're going to have a diverse company because we're not racist and sexist and stuff, hopefully. And then we started hiring people, and like, not only were all the people we were hiring like white men, basically, but all the people applying were white men. So we looked at this and we are like, okay, apparently this is more complicated than I thought. The tech industry already has a huge diversity problem, and just us not having, hopefully not having this bias ourselves that's not enough to fix it. So we basically started the fellowship as a way to say, how can we kind of create an entry point, like an on-ramp for more people who want to get into tech, but maybe don't have the mentorship in their lives, the access, the privilege. And it's actually been great. We've hired a handful of people from it. And even setting aside the diversity angle, we've gotten access to a talent pool that we would have never like we hired some psychology majors who are now fantastic programmers. It just kind of opened up a whole new opportunity for hiring for us.
That is amazing. And I love a psychology major out of college can become a coder. I mean, how true is that, you go to college for this one thing and you're like, what? I mean, I have a political science degree. Did anyone ever think I was going to end up in marketing? No,
right.
But you grow so much and you have interests that you didn't at 18 when you chose this college major. And I think that's so awesome to give that opportunity.
Yeah, and I think the tech industry, I don't know how closely you work with like tech, like clients of yours or whatever being in the tech world, but there's this very like everyone has to be a genius computer scientist vibe going on. And there are some companies where being able to solve the most complicated algorithmic problem is the thing. But like we're making a CRM. Much, much more important for us is having like human empathy, for example, which is a trait that is not always, but far too often lacking from that traditional computer science type person. So I think a lot of tech companies are doing themselves a disservice by copying how Google is hiring. Like we don't want Google's engineers. We want people who are more well-rounded, more generalists instead of specialists. And going outside of the computer science world for that has really been helpful for that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I'm thinking about myself as a tech user, and sometimes you get stuck on something and you reach out to customer support and it's like, well, that's just how it is, right? And it's like, well, the difference between great customer support for a company and poor is that you want people on your end who are saying like, oh, I'm hearing that this is a problem for our users. How can I help solve it? Versus like, well, this is the best way to build it, and so that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so moving into a little bit about the product again and innovation, how do you gather feedback from your customers to continuously improve the CRM? And can you kind of share an example maybe of a feature that you added based on kind of the customer insights?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me start by saying there's kind of two different entrepreneurial paths. And one is to say, I'm going to go invent a brand new thing no one's ever heard of before. The advantage to that is you have no competition, but the challenge is you have to convince people they want a thing that they don't even know exists. That's a marketing challenge, and I'm not particularly good at solving marketing challenges, so that's not the path for me. We're taking the other approach, which is build a better mousetrap. Like our name is Less Annoying CRM, and it really is. We are positioning ourselves as we are not the first CRM you've heard about. You've probably tried 1 or 10 other CRMs, and when we talk to our customers, that tends to be true, and you didn't like them for one reason or another. In that mode, it completely changes what like innovation means, because the reality is we have way fewer features than our competitors. We would like to have more. Again, we don't want to bloat the software too much, but we also know we're a very small company, very small team. There are features we're missing that customers expect. In a way, it makes innovation a little simpler to just be like, we know what customers want and what we don't have. because they tell us. It's not some kind of great creative endeavor. So
Mhm.
anyway, to answer your specific question, the main thing is we have a lot of customer interaction through the customer service team. We call them CRM coaches. And then once a week, we have a company-wide meeting. The company's basically half CRM coaches, half developers. We have a weekly meeting every week. The whole company sits around some couches together. And basically, the customer service people say, hey, here's what the customers are saying. Um, I'll admit we're not very structured about it. We don't have some complicated project management system or anything like that to track requests, because the reality is like it's just pretty obvious when you're like, well, yet another customer wants to be able to send, email templates. That's the
Right.
500th request for this. And we're like, okay, well, we know we need to build that. We're working on it. Sorry if that's not a super satisfying answer, but it just kind of
No,
beats you over the head, you know?
but it speaks to who you are, right? It speaks to who you are in terms of, it, you guys are less annoying, Sarah. You are not, you don't want to blow the features out of proportion, because then the market in which you serve, it, it's to their detriment in the end, right? Like, you guys have
Yeah.
to kind of balance, what do you think they really actually need versus what they think they want.
Hmm.
Because a want, oftentimes with CRMs, and I've seen this so many times with like sales teams. It's like, well, I would use the CRM more if it had these features. And I can tell you from experience, like, they don't use it when they get
Yeah.
those features. Like, no, they don't.
Yep. Yeah, we actually over the 15 years, because I was 24 when we started this business, I did not have a lot of experience, and so I've made a million mistakes along the way. One of them is so I'd say in the early days we reached product market fit. Like our product was pretty competitive in the CRM space for simple small business needs. And then we kind of started getting a little more proactive about deciding what to build, and we started basing it more on what we thought would be a cool idea, which worked for a while because our product was already in a good position. But then over a decade, the CRM industry changed and customer expectations changed. So, for example, now you expect to look at a pipeline through a Kanban view. If anyone listening to this doesn't know what that means, doesn't matter. But like there's just new expectations for what the features have. And I'll admit we kind of fell behind because we were trying to innovate our own stuff rather than seeing what do customers actually need. And it's not that hard. You just have to look at what everyone else is building and do a better job of building that same stuff. So we've kind of hit the reset button from a product strategy standpoint over the last couple of years, just being like, again, we're not trying to innovate here. We're just trying to let people do what they could do with Salesforce, but in a way where they actually understand. That's really all we're here to do.
Right. Absolutely. Um, in terms of like customer retention, what do your retention numbers look like? I have to imagine with your customer service model that you guys retain at a higher rate. I'm just guessing.
Yeah. And I think anyone with like a subscription business, you're always trying to figure out what would good churn be.
Yeah.
I'm curious, as you're much more of a marketing expert than I am. The
Yeah.
numbers I've heard is like for a small business kind of flaky customer base, 5% is okay. 2 or 3% is pretty good. For more of an enterprise recurring revenue business, 1% is considered kind of the benchmark. Does that sound like in the right ballpark to you?
Yeah, it does. Especially, well, and of course, there's with the enterprise, of course, a lot of those CRMs are making you sign multi-year contracts and things like
Yeah.
that, right? So that I think that 1% is actually inflated because of that multi-year aspect of it, whereas you guys are the month, 15, it's much simpler and there's more opportunity. But yes, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, with that said, I think ours, I'm actually pulling up the report right now, but I think 2% per month is about what we see,
Mhm.
which would be bad for an enterprise, like big business, multi-year contract thing. I feel pretty good about it from a month to month. Like a lot of our churn is companies going out of business or like people retiring, that type of thing, where it's
Mhm.
like, okay, what are we going to do about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I personally wouldn't even, I've done so much work with retention models in my career, and I wouldn't even count them
Hmm.
the, so, and I hope you guys are very proud of that, because it speaks very much to, you know, the work you're doing on the customer service end, and
Yeah.
the product itself is meeting the need. Um, in terms, so going back to kind of that customer experience a little bit, what does like onboarding look like for a new Less Annoying CRM customer?
Mhm. Yeah, we actually made a pretty big change to this recently. The old way, because again, after 15 years, like the people buying our product have changed. Not just the industry, but we tend to have an older clientele. Not always, like it's pretty diverse, but skews older. A 60-year-old today is 15 years younger than a 60-year-old 15 years ago. I know that's obvious, but the way people buy software has changed quite a bit. So what we used to do is when someone signed up, because it is pretty at $15 a month, it has to be pretty self-service. Like, yes, we have customer service, but we're not doing sales. We're not like talking to someone as they sign up. So it used to be someone would sign up and the first thing they saw was what we called the beginner's guide. And it was like, okay, here's 10, 15 videos, watch one after the other. It's basically like if you buy a new refrigerator or TV and it comes with that instruction manual.
Mhm.
It's like, who actually reads that? So we recently
Besides my
changed it. Yeah, right. No, yeah, I think it used to be common to read that stuff and to say, I want to educate myself on how this works before I use it.
Yeah.
Now I feel like everybody's so used to SaaS products that, and this is how I buy. When I try out a new product, I'm just like, I'm gonna click around, I'm gonna go into the settings, I'm gonna add some custom fields, I'm gonna create a contact, I'm gonna just kind of get vibes. I don't even know what I'm looking for. It's just gonna feel good or it's gonna feel bad. And then if I like it, then I'm gonna go learn how it actually works.
Hmm.
So we just kind of changed it to we just plop someone into what we call the workspace. It's kind of the homepage of the CRM. There is like a notice at the top that's like, here's a welcome video that explains some basics and where to go to get more help. But then we have a whole like help section that you can pull out, and that's kind of where that step-by-step videos and tutorials and stuff are. And we find a lot of people just figure it out without ever using any of the help resources now, which surprised me. I kind of thought we need to provide this like hand-holding help. Some
Yeah.
people still really want it, but a lot of people don't anymore.
Hmm. That's awesome. I think it's uh, something I'm taking from you so in this conversation, Tyler, is just how adaptable you guys have been in terms of like learning from your customers, learning from the market, and making those adjustments where they need to be made, and like you guys are growing the company and the product with your product base, with your users. And like
Hmm.
that's key, right? Like that's how you stay relevant. That's how you stay ahead of the changes in the market, and I love it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't know. Like product-led growth is like maybe too much of a buzzword these days. I don't know if that's a thing you consult on or anything like that, but we're definitely trying to take more of an attitude of we have a marketing person, we do marketing. I don't want to make it sound like we don't, but our strength is in the product. So we
Right.
definitely take the approach of how can the product not literally sell itself, right? That idea of like build it and they will come. We all know that doesn't work, but
Mhm.
we've got about 1,000 free trial signups per month coming in. How can the product, once someone's in the door, what can we do with the product to get them to become a customer? And
Right.
yes, it's like a marketing mindset, but then the actual tech, the developers are the ones executing on the plan,
Mhm.
rather than let's write some blog posts or that type of marketing.
Right, right, right. What kind of diving into that a little bit, do you guys, for those who kind of get the trial but then don't end up going with the product, do you guys do anything to understand who they are or what didn't work for them?
Yes, a challenge we often face is our name is Less Annoying CRM, and a lot of good business tactics are annoying. So when people cancel, we ask them, we're like, why are you canceling? But it's not required. We don't send them follow-up emails hounding them about it. So we get information. I will acknowledge it's probably only a certain type of person fills that out, so we're probably not getting the full picture.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, you can definitely group the people who don't subscribe. I think the main problem is non-consumption. This is kind of like eating your vegetables or going on a diet in the new year. It's like I want this. I know this is good for me, but using a CRM is kind of annoying, hence our name.
Mhm.
I don't have the appetite for it right now. So
Right.
that's the main issue is people are like, oh, I love the product. I'll come back later, but I'm just not ready right now.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, there are a lot of people who are like, the reality is I need more powerful functionality. So obviously within that, there's more specifics, but those are kind of the two big
Sure.
categories.
Sure. But that's, I love, the free trial aspect, I think is so important because you're you're giving the user the ability to make that, realize that like, no, this
Hmm.
isn't the right one for me right now or in general, right?
Yeah.
And with Recommenda, our whole idea is like we know that people are getting put into technology, MarTech that isn't right for them. And sometimes for multiple year contracts, right? Like
Yeah, right.
it's a huge problem. And then, for especially for small businesses, that is a huge hit to the bottom line for technology they're not using or they signed up for and they can't get out of. And um, hopefully, trying to change that, obviously,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
it's a huge problem.
It's interesting you say that. Like, I was just listening to a podcast from kind of a product-led growth thought leader type person, and he defined, I've heard a million different definitions of what product-led growth is, and his definition was sales-led growth is the order goes, you get a lead, you monetize the lead, then you provide value to them.
Mhm,
Product-led growth is you get the lead, you provide value, and then you monetize later, whether that's
mhm.
through freemium or a free trial or whatever. It sounds like that's kind of what you're saying for your recommendations as well. It's like how can we get customers to actually experience value from a product and know they're going to get that value before they have to put a credit card down?
100%. And, Recommenda being a free tool, like that is a challenge for us. It's like everyone
Hmm.
said, like, is free really free? And it's like, no, you don't have to put your email in. You don't have to give us any information. You can just use this tool.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing that purposefully because we want people to get a benefit first. And that's I think people just don't even believe it to be
Yeah.
true, right? Like can something genuinely good for me be free? And it's like,
Hmm.
yes, it can. And there's obviously ways to monetize around that, but it's hard for like the normal consumer to process that kind of model.
Yeah,
Because every
absolutely.
we're used to being swindled, right? We're used to being that sales led first. And I think that company, there's a place for them in this world, in this market, but it's a different ethos of what they're trying to accomplish versus what the product led companies are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and I think it also ties into who your audience is. I think both of us are targeting small businesses, right? A small business can go try something out and see if it works. A Fortune 500 company can't do that. There's no version of a CRM where they can go set it up, use it for a week or a month and
Mhm.
see if it works for them because it takes a year and a half and millions of dollars of IT work just to implement a CRM for them. So like a sales-led model makes sense if you're selling to a Fortune 500 company, but it doesn't for a small business. They buy a lot more like consumers where it's like, I'll just try it out and see if I like it.
True, true. And that's, I'm thinking about when we were building the algorithm for the CRM, CRM version of Recommenda. Obviously, it is a user experience driven model for most of the variables, but the first question you have to answer is what size is your company?
Hmm.
And that is very purposeful because I'm like, if you are a small business, there's certain CRMs out there you should not be considering. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
how good their user experience it is. Like that's where you have to trust that I'm trying to I'm trying to help you like avoid looking at these players that you should not be playing with.
Right.
And it's hard. I mean, especially as a business owner, right? It's like every day we too have to be making decisions on which technology is best for us. And I think I love what you guys are doing. I love your product.
Thank
Um,
you.
I really appreciate you taking this time with me today, Tyler, to share more. Is there anything else you hope that or would like anybody watching our interview today to know about Less Annoying CRM?
Um, I actually think we did a great job of covering it. I mean, yeah, like the what I spend my time thinking about is product, and we talked about that quite a bit. Customer service, we talked about that quite a bit, and then just how can we do a little bit more than like given that we aren't beholden to maximizing shareholder value as our only goal, the fellowship and other things like that. I mean, that's basically our company in a nutshell. So I think we covered it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler.
My pleasure.